slept at this Love's the other day. You guys can tell because there's those trucks again that are pretty cool. Someone mentioned what they were down in the comments, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, we're getting our day started. I've already done my pre-trip and everything. We're headed out. I don't know if I'll even be able to drop today because it's saying 10 hours until drop. It's like traffic got way worse, so I might just drop tomorrow. But I really want to drop today just because then I don't have to worry about it after I get home. Because if I drop on my way home, boom, done. But if I don't, then I have to like go home and then do a whole big 2.5 hour loop. So it's like, what do I really want to do? Not to mention, I won't get paid for these until the following Friday if I drop them tomorrow, as opposed to today. If I drop them today, I'll get paid Friday, next Friday. But if I drop them tomorrow, I get paid the following. So it's like, kind of sucks, but oh well. North Carolina scale. Everybody's bypassing except me. There's nobody behind me. I'm gonna get pulled in, I'm gonna get inspected, I'm gonna get an out of service, and I'm going to jail. That's my logic every single time I go through a scale house. We're pretty underweight, so we should be all right. All my brakes work and, you know, all that stuff, so. Oh man, we're gonna be home today. I got 7 hours and 21 minutes. I just need to get fuel one time before I hit PA, and then we'll drop these tomorrow. They didn't have time to inspect me because they have one person in there, and he's inspecting a Penske box truck. So, cool, ain't my problem, we are good to go. By the way, I have 8,100 pounds on the drives for anybody who wants to tell me I'm illegal and overweight. Not. And I've passed every scale that I can possibly pass through with that much. Every load that I do, I'm over 6,000 pounds on the drives. There's still people that'll argue that. You dually swap something, it goes by the rear axle rate, not what's on the door sticker. Every single time. I don't know. So, we're doing good. Not to mention the company that I'm leased under, he's been in business for like 10 years and it's the same thing. He'll tell you the same thing. It's like, unless you really piss off a DOT officer. I think even V-Belt, Sam did a video on that as well, on the rear axle rating, swapping to 19.5s to up your payload capacity. Unless you absolutely piss off a DOT officer, they're looking at the tire ratings, not your GAWR on the sticker. And there is a form you can fill out to, like, apparently you can up your GVWR and your GAWR and all that. I haven't done it. I'm still running the 9,000 GVWR, but at the same time, it's like, it'd be kind of neat to be able to uprate it, but I don't know. I'd have to figure out how to do that, but right now I'm not worried about it being non-CDL. All right, we're getting that inspection today. Nice cop, actually. So let's see, pull around right here. Get out of the way. All right, North Carolina getting inspected. Guess what? Passed. Oh, that's awesome. He only did a level 3, but even still, he's like, he liked the truck. He had some nice things to say. Kind of just got to talking, bullshitting and everything, and he went over all my paperwork, you know, the logs and everything like that, and all good. Nice guy. So we're rolling. Saw my numbers up on the scale. I was under 26,000, so it's like, that's all that matters. We're good. That's awesome. So for anybody out there, oh my God, you're overweight, shut up. Still winning. All right, more scales. I did just pass a level 3, so he went all over my paperwork. It pays to be friendly and, you know, have all your paperwork in line. So I'm not too worried about that, but we're like 4.5 hours from home. I kind of want to get home, but I also need to get fuel. Looking like I'm getting pretty low. I'm like 3/4 of a tank, but it's gonna be a day. All right. Their scale house, that was pretty easy, so I don't think that they were really doing any inspections. They were just checking weights and shit. Be on your way. These buffoons blocking the, look, you can see this guy here, he's got a step deck. It looks like he's jackknifed her a couple times, so I can tell that's a new driver because he just sits at the pump and he's not even getting diesel. And then this guy, JB Hunt, probably got his CDL through one of them schools and, you know, doesn't know what he's doing and just sitting here blocking the pump. And then you have this guy over here, he's also blocking the pump. Bruh, what happened to professionalism and courtesy? Going to get the diesel, and it's like, I hit my control number, and by the time I'd get the second one in, it would start hitting F or P, and every time you'd hit clear, it just screw itself up. So I'm gonna throw some air in the bags, get the tank filled. I don't think we're gonna be touching any more scales on the way home, but everything's looking pretty good. I did loosen up on the winch cable a little bit so that I'm not putting any stress on it, but that's pretty much it. I think he said he went over the bearings before I bought this thing. So what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna get new bearings for that and start replacing them. I need to get bearings, I want to get brakes and everything, so everything's basically brand new, but I'm going to give it a couple of weeks before I do that. And then I'm going to try to service the grease every 6 weeks, and then every 12 weeks I'll go through and I'll end up replacing the bearings, because I see Alex replaces his every 4 weeks, or now he's doing them every 6, and it seems like that's too much. So I'm gonna end up, I want to replace them a lot more than, you know, maybe every other or every 3 times. So they're not expensive to do. So, but definitely want to go over the brakes and see how they're doing. But other than that, I'm gonna get fuel and mud flaps touching the ground, so I'm gonna fill some bags up. All right, so I'm gonna be home in about an hour. I want to go over some of the questions that you guys had for me. There's not really much going on today, but I'm gonna be filming a lot more for you guys tomorrow. So tomorrow's video should be a little bit more action, you know, and going over the truck and the setup and everything. So tomorrow should be a little bit more interesting. But I've gotten this comment so many times about these damn manual locking hubs. So I figure I want to go over and compare 2-wheel drive versus 4-wheel drive, why I'm not buying the manual locking hubs, and ultimately what I want at the end of the day. So basically in this industry, you know, I started off with a 4-wheel drive truck. That's just what I did, because back then that's what everybody had, and that's basically what it was, okay? So the more and more I do this, the more I realize that I really regret getting a 4-wheel drive truck, and I wish I would have just got a 2-wheel drive truck. Now, pros and cons, there's plenty of them between the two. Obviously with a 2-wheel drive truck, you're lighter, you're gonna get better fuel economy, because you're not having to spin the front axle, you're not spinning, you know, you have less weight, you're lower. So those are some of the pros to it, but unfortunately there are some cons. The front suspension on the 2-wheel drive trucks kind of suck, especially on the 3rd gens, which is what I like. The rear suspension's really soft on the 2-wheel drive trucks. It only has 3 leaf packs, and then your 2 overloads, as opposed to on the 4-wheel drive you have 4 leaves in the pack. So there's that, so it's definitely a lot easier to squat. The front suspensions, from what I've heard, they have inferior ball joints and stuff like that. It's an independent front suspension as opposed to a solid axle. Like if you buy a 5500 or 4500 2-wheel drive, you still get a solid axle, which is great. So some of the pros and cons there. Now, the 4-wheel drive, you have to service the U-joints on the front end. You have to service the front drive shaft every now and again, because it's all a live front on the older trucks. Now, the newer trucks, there's a little bit different of a story, but I'm gonna go over basically the cons of, like, say in my case. So the transfer case is always spinning. So everything that's not being used is still spinning, so it still needs to be maintenance. Now, you can go spend $1,800 on the manual locking hubs. Yes, they'll pay for themselves, and you know, this and that, but at the end of the day, it's still a costly thing to have to go through, in my opinion, okay? The front drive shaft, what ends up happening is the U-joints get seized up over time and transfer cases explode. I've had my front drive shaft rebuilt probably 3 times at this point because of the U-joints just caking up. And I get it, yes, you can put greasable ones in. You know, these are just my experiences. I need a front end at this point because it's always spinning. You know, you get a little bit of water in the vent, now you need a front end. U-joints, I've replaced several U-joints on the front ends of these things. Again, this is all stuff the manual locking hubs will take care of. In my case, I get it. I could go out and spend $1,800 on these hubs. I don't want to. Ultimately, I want a 2-wheel drive truck. Honestly, I would buy a 2-wheel drive frame for this truck before I ever bought those manual locking hubs. That's just my personal preference. I want a 2-wheel drive truck. If I want all-wheel drive, I have other vehicles. For commercial use, for what I'm running now, I don't go out west. I stick dedicated Pennsylvania down to Florida and back. If it's gonna be snow and bad weather,
I'd just rather not drive at this point. I'm getting to the point where it's like, I don't care enough to go out and drive in the snow. I don't care enough to risk my life or other people's lives, or damaging equipment, or just taking loads through the snow. It's my personal preference. I just would rather not do it. Yes, I used to do it. I used to run 4-wheel drive. I'd take these big, heavy bumper pull campers, and I'd just run 4-wheel drive while everybody else couldn't. And it's like, it's just not for me anymore. It's not, you know, like I said, I want a 2-wheel drive. So that's the pros and cons there. Yes, you can get manual locking hubs and get the added mileage. In my case, on an empty rig, okay, I can show you guys numbers loaded. Obviously the numbers are gonna vary, but on a loaded rig, I went from getting 13 miles a gallon to 17 miles a gallon consistently just by gutting the front U-joints. I took the front axles out and just put the stubby in the wheel bearing, and boom, now my truck's getting 17 miles a gallon with 35s. I was super happy with that. Obviously loaded is gonna be a different case, okay? My mileage is all over the place when I'm loaded. Usually around 10 to 12 is what I'm getting loaded with my 33s and my gutted front end. With the 35s and the front end still in, definitely, you know, definitely a difference. So I'd have to go over all the numbers on that. I really don't pay attention to my fuel mileage anymore, because like taking loads like this, I can't even fill the tank, so I don't even know what my fuel mileage is half the time anyway. That's my comparison with 2-wheel drive versus 4-wheel drive, my personal preference and all that. So that's gonna be one. Now 2, I've had people ask about the logbook, some of the rules, and I get it. It's hard to follow along on a camera because it looks like I can start really early in the day and then I'm really late at night, and it's like, it kind of looks like you run more hours than you really do. If you are over 10,000 pounds and you are traveling over interstate, basically over state lines, you're a commercial motor vehicle, you're making money. Anything over 10,000 pounds, you have to run a logbook. Only way around running electronic logbook, there is a few different ways to get around it. In my case, my engine's a 96, so I have to run paper logs as opposed to an ELD, but I'm still subject to the same rules. We get a 14-hour window. We are allowed 11 hours of drive time in that time, same as a semi. Before the 8-hour mark, at or before 8 hours, you must take a 30-minute break. That can be a combination of on-duty, off-duty. That can be a total of 30 minutes on duty or a total of 30 minutes off duty. It's basically how our logbook works, same as a damn semi. I understand there's other ways around it, basically a glider kit. I think livestock haulers have a way, are allowed, you know, to run paper logs. I think, I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's pretty much question number 2. All right, so third question I want to go over. I grabbed the camera for this one because the gauges are all right here, and I basically want to go over how well does a 12-valve do compared to a common rail for what I'm doing, okay? I'm doing 26,000 pounds is my limit. When I get my CDL, the truck's going to be registered at 30,000 pounds because it'll be a 9K truck with a 21,000 pound trailer, giving you, you know, 30,000 pounds GCWR. So how does the truck do? How does it pull? All that. I can tell you, when I put the 12-valve in, it was absolutely a dog. No governor springs. It would rev limit at 2,300 RPMs before it would start cutting fuel. It was absolutely terrible. Made like 180 horsepower, something like that. So yeah, terrible. I put a 10 plate in it. I grinded it flat on the bottom. I put that in the 3/4 position. I put some 3,000 pound governor springs in it. I did some AFC tuning, and I put an HE341 turbo on it. Right now, aside from the cooling issues, there is a coolant leak somewhere that I haven't really been able to track down. Coolant's going somewhere. So besides every now and again, you know, the temp does get a little hot, the EGTs get a little hot, and besides that, like, I'm 26,000 pounds right now, and you can see I'm cruising 69, 70 miles an hour. Just cruising. We're going up a slight grade. Truck doesn't really care. The engine's got about 300,000 miles now. It's been basically, you know, it runs awesome for the abuse that I put this thing through. Like, I've had the coolant temp up to 240 degrees. I run my EGTs up to 1,600, and it just takes it. So I really have no complaints. And like I said, it pulls great. There's a video I did of me accelerating, one of my last couple videos where I got stuck in the sand, I think that was. And ultimately, it just pulls great. Now, unfortunately, making common rail power and pulling heavy in this summer, you know, it's definitely a little bit smoky for what it is. I'm gonna mess with the pre-boost, but besides a little bit of smoke down low, it used to smoke up high too. I was able to tune out the smoking up high. So besides that, it pulls great. It pulls great. So like I said, can't complain there. You guys have been asking about it. Those are 3 of the questions that, you know, I've been getting a lot of, and I figure I'd go over them in this video since nothing else is really going on, but spread the knowledge. So that's pretty much gonna do it. I got, like I said, 45 minutes till I get home. Cruising 70, and not to mention the 12-out was great because of the paper logs. And look at that, we're hitting traffic. So aside from that, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Safe travels. Have a good one.